Welcome to SFLiberalBuzz. I'm your host, Denise Dory, and we've got a lot of fun things to talk about today. Solutions to problems with civil rights and growing our own food. So this being SFLiberalBuzz, and liberals are about civil rights because that's our platform, is civil rights, and we have to police some people that call themselves liberals but sometimes don't act like them because they're dazzled by money or whatever it is that dazzles them. So we've got some tweets. And this is what this is what I'm on about lately. Today, I tweeted about genetically modified soy corn. It transfers the DNA of bacteria in our gut and transforms our intestinal bacteria into pesticide factories. Isn't that wonderful? Oh boy! And so, you know, doctors are saying, please don't grow these crops anymore. Even doctors are saying it. So the tide is turning against these genetically modified crops. So, and now we've got we've got jail time, you know, because alcohol and beverage control actually wants to take control of who gets to grow cannabis and obliterate the cottage industry. So we've got to push back against that, and they're not going to stop, even though Assembly Bill 604 failed to get the vote, probably because, I don't know, the bill expired, right? It just got too late, and it was the end of the session, and no one voted.
Yeah, Friday the 13th they didn't make the midnight deadline, but they'll reintroduce it.
Yeah, they'll put the same pizza in the same box.
It just keeps getting right back up.
Yeah, so they, you know, it's just these industry clowns. This is what I've tweeted. I got this is partially in my email about jail time, and get the industry clowns and cops away from our medicine, because the industry clowns are like the 1%, and the cops who like to be have clamp control, because they probably got money in it too. So, you know, and everything. And so anyway, if you want to go to and read some of my very fascinating tweets, you may sign up for Denise Dory tweets by I guess you follow me. That's how it works. And now we've got our guest today is Evan, and as you can see, he's got a free farm. We call it the FreeFoodFarm on Eddy and Gough Street. See how pretty that is? We'll get the buildings out of the way. Okay, so it's, you know, ready to, I don't know what's there. It looks like some cruciferous vegetables and things like that. So I'm really proud of anyone that I wish we need more things like this, and, you know, not more tall buildings to block the sun. Right?
That's the problem.
You're blocking, that's a lot of problems right now. You know, I'm nervous about my sun being blocked because they're starting to build over on Market Street, you know, and I hope it's not like a behemoth like B and C. Now, well, we'll get to that later, B and C. And now, a study finds that cannabis and CBD helps reverse booze brain damage. So, that's great. That's on High Times, and you can also find that on my Twitter feed if you just scroll down. Congress, the chemtrail hearings, you know, those things in the sky. I've talked about that on past shows, probably on a future one, but not today. But just check it out. It's scary. And so the patients, we've been decrying the alcohol enforcement of medical cannabis, and we were going to have a rally, but we didn't. We didn't have to. So that was great. We didn't have to do it then. We might have to, like, collect signatures, and we have to keep fighting back against this, and we know we do. We're ready. We're ready. So
definitely ready.
So Evan, I've got you here today to talk about your farm on Eddy and Gough.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming in. And I saw that you've got a lot of sunshine on that farm. You don't have a lot of you know, the sun being blocked or anything. So how long have you been doing this farm? How long have you had it?
The farm broke ground in January of 2010, and I became involved in April of 2010.
All right.
So going on 3.5 years, something like that.
Now, was there formerly a building there that was demolished?
There was St. Paul's Lutheran Church was there, and it burned. It was an interesting wooden framed but stone facade building. And so the wooden frame burned, and that was, I think, about 18 years ago, something like that. And there was a pit there after that, but
yeah,
hasn't been a building there for quite some time.
So I'm excited about this garden. We need to have more gardens like this in the city. If I want them to walk the walk if they're going to talk about San Francisco being a green city. You can't be a green city without community gardens. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And I don't see our supervisor doing much about it, really. Maybe let me know, please. Really.
I just heard about some appointment that a supervisor made, and they're going to oversee the process of potentially moving city-owned property and granting it, or having an interim use agreement to community groups to have community farms. But I mean, if it ever happens, it's going to be years from now.
Well, you know, there was a community garden in Hayes Valley, and
yeah.
Gavin Newsom was there to help break ground, and a friend of mine, Oscar, helped dig up there, and Silas or somebody, a few people I know. And now there are just a few scant years in the future that now that garden's gone. You know,
right.
I walk by there, it's just, you know, it's gone. It's very sad. They used to have
pit
like
now with lots of construction equipment. It's beautiful.
Yes, and lots of signs up that say, don't ask about employment.
Yeah.
It's
What?
really bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're like, don't ask us.
really.
Yeah, no on-site hiring.
And it's right near the beer garden, which often, you know, people get drunk, you know, off into the late hours. And I've heard from a friend of mine, Frank, that he's, you know, really sick of hearing all that noise very late at night, and then carrying on with all this oompa oompa music.
Yeah.
And when they're being hypocrites about people having a beer on the street without actually sitting behind, being in part of the restaurant scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a civil right too, actually, to me. I think sitting on the sidewalk, growing food, growing your own cannabis, and we're going to get to that, because growing one's own cannabis should be a human right. I very strongly believe in that, always have. But I'm worried about Prop 215. Aren't you concerned? Is anyone here concerned about Prop 215?
I mean,
With this ABC, alcohol beverage control?
I think that, you know, when we look at the alcohol beverage control, they're trying to really make sure that there is no cottage industry, that people can't grow their own medicine, just like a lot of the, you know, sort of overseers, if you will, don't want people to have the knowledge to grow their own food. Ironically, I live just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the FreeFoodFarm, and every Saturday they have a little display of different, you know, fresh vegetables and stuff that they've harvested, and they just give to people.
Yeah, so every Saturday at 1 p.m. at Gough and Eddy Street, we have the farm stand for the harvest of the farm. And we've distributed, I believe, more than 9,000 pounds of produce. And yeah, and so that's when we do that. We have free lunch every day at noon, free vegan lunch, and the work days, I should say, every work day at noon. So that's Wednesdays and Saturdays from 10 to 2. So it's interesting, Denise, that you brought up the city and how they evicted Hayes Valley, because we had a television crew visit the FreeFoodFarm from SF.gov, the city website, and they were doing a featurette or something extolling the virtues of urban agriculture in San Francisco, and they seemed like nice folks, but I had to comment on the irony that the city had literally just evicted, you know, an urban farm, an urban agriculture project earlier that summer, and then flipping around, you know, being two-faced and saying, oh, but, oh, look, these city workers harvest fruit, and look at these people at this beautiful free farm who are being kicked off in 3 months, and it just seemed like a lot of hypocrisy on the part of the city. You know?
Well, they're constantly flipping the script. It's just like they take down the Embarcadero Freeway. Now they want to build these giant condos that are twice as high, and have more than half the supervisors voted for it, so including Jane Kim, you know? And I'm like, really? So, anyway, write to her. You know, you send her emails saying, don't do this, although we're voting on it now, but I'm just not happy about that. I like her in a lot of ways, but that one, she missed the vote. Now, with your community garden, can people just come in there and bring their gloves at noon and just start, you know, digging in the soil?
Yeah, well, we have gloves and tools, and
So you don't even have to wear your gloves.
you don't even have to wear your gloves. Wear something comfortable. something light in color. You know, we get a lot of direct sunlight as the day progresses.
I see a lot of really beautiful seeds at Rainbow Grocery and a lot of nice plants, you know.
We also have a greenhouse that we start plants in, and we give away those starts. People can grow, take those and bring them to their house, or their apartment, or their SRO, and if they have a window or a light, they can have, you know, some plant growing, some green in their living space. You know, even in the city, you can grow your own food pretty much anywhere. That's the kind of idea that we try to spread throughout the people, is that, you know, you don't need to pay a lot of money to eat really healthy produce. You can grow it yourself.
Well, you know, I'd like to grow some wheatgrass there. I'm good at wheatgrass is an art, and I learned how to grow it. Do you ever grow anything like that, wheatgrass?
We don't. Wheatgrass is, I think.
What sort of things do you grow?
We grow a lot of dark leafy greens, so collard greens and other forms of collards are really popular in the neighborhood. A lot of folks are really glad to get fresh collard greens and not canned, pre-cooked collard greens that are all slimy and over-salted. We grow tomatoes, hot peppers, squash, cucumbers, lettuce, lots of different kinds of lettuce, rosemary, mint, sage, sweet potatoes. We have citrus trees, we have avocado trees, we have some really odd kind of vegetables most folks don't know about.
Bees?
We have bees. Well, the bees I think are dormant at the moment, but we have had bees. We produced honey for a while.
Alright.
We grow lots of ornamental plants as well. There's an entire succulent section. So yeah, we kind of run the gambit from bamboo, you know, really utilitarian, to food you can eat, to stuff that's just nice to look at, to, you know,
so what's the
plants.
future? What's the future of this garden? How long do you think it can remain there without someone wanting the property for something else?
It's already set. We're already have an eviction date. St. Paul's Lutheran Church decided to sell the property that's been vacant for almost 20 years and evict us. And although we are very grateful for their, you know, the use of the land and the water and the electricity, and we just really feel like there's enough high-rise, ultra-modern condo buildings, apartment towers in San Francisco, and not enough public green space, particularly in certain neighborhoods. Like, it's right next to a lot of housing at San Francisco Housing Authority and other low-income housing, and, you know, it's kind of on the edge of the Tenderloin where there's hardly any public green space, let alone spaces where people can come and help grow their own food or just come and hang out. So it's a really beautiful, unique space in San Francisco, and just we're really disheartened that it's, you know, the neighborhood's going to lose it, the community's going to lose it as a resource.
Have you any idea whether you might be able to relocate or get someone on your side in City Hall to help you relocate? Maybe from, well, don't ask Parks and Rec because they just closed down the recycling center. And
Well, Tree, the project coordinator, has been looking at a lot of different sites. This is not his first garden and will not be the last. He helped start it. But nothing's really panning out. He's trying to do some guerrilla gardening in the Mission with limited success. But it's really hard. People want money. They don't want free stuff for the community. They want to sell money, and, you know, the San Francisco's being gentrified pretty heavily right now, and like you're talking about, the buildings go up around Market Street and Soma. There's all these, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 story apartment buildings and office towers going up, and we kind of just like feeling as, you know, yet another victim.
The tide will have to turn. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you for a second. The tide will have to turn because, for one thing, I don't think there's enough rich people to buy all these places.
That's funny. I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it.
It's a bubble. It is. It's a bubble, and it's created by banksters. You know, they loan each other money at 0% interest rate. They're not loaning it to anyone else. They're loaning it to each other for 0% interest rate.
Well, I think the whole joke in this is that every so-called progressive supervisor that votes for yet another one of these things always says, but I did so because there's going to be, X and Y's amount of affordable units.
Right.
Well, what affordable means is like a salary of a fireman or a teacher, or it's not affordable to working class families, that supposedly they're fighting to keep in San Francisco.
Well, for example, the building that's going on the lot where the FreeFarm is, they said 5% of the units will be designated affordable housing or low-income housing. But again, what does that mean in San Francisco? I mean, when average rent's $1,800 to $2,600 a month, what's affordable? $1,000, $1,500 a month for a studio or one bedroom, which, I mean, I think folks watching TV know that's not affordable for most, folks.
Or families.
Especially families, yeah. To get a 2 or 3 bedroom for a family, can't even imagine trying to rent that in San Francisco.
No, well, it's very cost prohibitive. I wanted to let everybody know about, when we're talking about the gentrification, Jack Spade is proposed for the Mission on 16th and Valencia. And as we know, Jack Spade is all about gentrification. They want to be part of that wave. So there's a resistance to that, and I'm right there. I'm with my liberal buzz on. And I'm going to say in September the 23rd, be there at 6 p.m., 518 Valencia, which is Eric Hazada Center. 518 Valencia, 6 p.m., September 23rd. So that's an announcement. I should have saved it for the end, but I don't want to forget. Because we want to protest Jack Spade. And also there's no wall on the waterfront. No on B and C. This, let's see if I can get, it's just, it's a grab. They're going to try to make it like Miami, where no one can really access the waterfront. And they're going to build really tall, and it's going to be a wall to you and me, and it's going to be, and they're going to have all the views, and we're going to just look at the wall. So, anyway, we don't want that either. So, 15 Columbus is where their office is, so help them out too if you can. Go down there, make calls Tuesdays and Thursdays. John Gollinger.
Tell me again which so-called progressive supervisors support building this wall?
None of them really, except Jane Kim
and Christina Olagi did, and
she may not have been supervisor then, or was she? Well, she probably did then. I don't want to give out misinformation, I'm not sure, but I do know Jane Kim did vote for it. I saw the list really quick. Mark Farrell would have, and we've got Tang. Tang's a new supervisor that took
Chu's place.
Carmen Chu's place, who moved on. So I was going to say the medical...
It's much less confusing now there's only one Chu.
Right.
I need to give this a mention. Did you know that a medical cannabis advocate and a parent was killed by a drunk driver?
Jenny
Cush. And so this show is in her memory, and the drunk drivers are they make excuses. Oh, they were just drunk, that's why I had the affair, or I took off my clothes, but I was drunk, so that makes everything right. And this has got, the alcohol thing is just, stop making excuses for it, because it's wrong. So, if they're going to put cannabis down, because some cannabis makes people more alert. So I know they should have warning labels on indica, but I think the other strains not so much. So that's just me. So do you agree with me? Raise your hand.
Okay, why drink and drive when you can get high and fly?
Thank you. All right. And so now we've got the 2014 voter initiatives, and I want you to talk more about, since we've only got about 2.5 minutes left, Shona, please talk about the voter initiatives, and we already talked about the 604 Rotten Pizza, and so the voter initiative and the Cottage Collective is in Canada.
So, real quick do the 2014 Save Cannabis ballot, which is a collective effort of 1,000 activists across the state of California, is still going through final packaging to get sent to the Secretary of the State. It had no mention, in most San Franciscans today will see that, you know, there's a big cannabis story on SF Weekly where they mostly interview industry folks and make no mention of 2014, but the industry folks don't want to legalize in California until 2016, so it's kind of interesting that, you know, Chris Roberts totally evaded what's actually really going on, and in 2014 California voters will have two ballots to legalize, provide for industrial hemp and not have medical cannabis taxed, and also have the Save Cannabis ballot initiative is different than the Jack Herrera because it does include compassionate care incentives for providers.
Oh, very good. We need to, it's all about compassionate care.
It's the first piece that actually, that's staying in there, and that's many thanks to Dave Hodges from the Save Cannabis ballot. I worked pretty closely with him on that, and he's not letting it out of there, so many thanks to him. And then for Canada, I think it just kind of zooms right in with the food. You can no longer, the government came out and said no to people being able to grow their own cannabis. Now if you live in Canada, you will have to purchase it from a government licensed provider, which is hideous. So boycott maple syrup, and what else does Canada do?
Poutine.
Poutine.
Yeah, cheese curds.
Cheese curds.
Yeah, the National Curling Federation. Send them a letter.
Tell the Queen Mother.
All the Queen.
So could these voter initiatives, how do they affect Prop 215, especially the alcohol beverage control, which is probably going to come back?
So
how's that going to affect?
none of the voter initiatives, the two that come from
10 seconds.
That come from an activist background do not have the ABC in there. The industry may run something in 2016 that will have the ABC sort of self-elect pop cops out.
Thank you.